Welcome. We'd like to start this evening with a public hearing. The public hearing is to consider the Planning Commission recommendation to amend the Planning and Zoning Code to create a transitional housing use definition and regulatory framework. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the Planning Commission's recommendation? Mr. Mendel?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is the outcome of a process during 2016 where the Planning Commission asked staff to put together a regulatory framework for transitional housing. I mean, we have regular housing and then we have group homes. So this was kind of a slightly different category that we wanted to try to address proactively. This was originally went to Planning Commission on August 11th with a new transitional housing use definition, and then a slight amendment to the group home definition to kind of help make distinction between the two. Planning Commission felt that those definitions were acceptable. Then the remaining step was creating a regulatory framework, so zoning district, permitted or conditionally permitted use, etc. And that was brought to the Planning Commission on the October 13th, 2016 Planning Commission meeting. At the Planning Commission meeting on October 13th of 2016, the Planning Commission did review and approve recommend for approval rather to the City Council the transitional housing regulatory framework for the Council's review during the legislative process. The details on the regulatory framework are in the packet that is part of the City Council legislative process. This went to Finance Committee of the City Council on November 14th, 2016, with a positive forwarding it to the City Council for the full Council review. Tonight is the public hearing, and then anticipate an ordinance coming in front of the City Council at the January 23rd, 2017 meeting. So I would recommend that the City Council approve it to help us have a specific regulatory framework for this type of housing, which would be for short-term drug rehabilitation facility, better women's shelter type of facility, and those types of facilities that the group home definition doesn't really apply to. That's for long-term housing, and it doesn't really fit to just a normal residence definition in the zoning code. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in favor of the Planning Commission's recommendation? Is there anybody? Oh, Mr. Huber.
I'd like to speak in favor of this recommendation. We keep amending our zoning code. I'm pretty sure eventually we're going to achieve perfection.
Thank you, Mr. Huber. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak in favor of the recommendation? Is there anybody that wishes to speak against the recommendation, Planning Commission's recommendation to amend the zoning code to create a transitional housing use definition? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. I now call the January 9, 2017 council meeting to order. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson.
Here.
Coin.
Here.
Hilberg.
Here.
Colasar.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Reading of the minutes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields.
I move that the minutes of the regular meeting of December 12, 2016 and the organizational meeting of January 4, 2017 be approved as submitted by the clerk.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the approval of both minutes?
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Reports of standing committees. The Finance Committee met prior to this council meeting this evening, had a discussion on many items that'll be on the next agenda, and we'll meet again prior to the next council meeting. Health, Safety, and Sanitation Committee, Mr. Colzar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Health, Safety, and Sanitation met on December 19th, right before Christmas, to talk about recycling, and there should be some future meetings, hopefully in the next month or two, to continue that discussion, hopefully some action soon after that, but no meeting scheduled at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Public Properties Committee, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and no report this evening.
Thank you. Special Legislation Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and no report.
Thank you. Streets and Sidewalks Committee, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's no meeting scheduled at this time, but I will in the near future be meeting with Mr. Patton to discuss a possible date in February, just to give us some updates on projects that's on the
Pending matters.
pending matters and projects for 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Water and Utilities Committee, Mr. Hilberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. And Emerging Technologies Committee, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. No meeting scheduled and nothing to report.
Thank you. Request for council action? Hold on a second.
I don't.
I had it. Wait a minute. We had, it's not in the minutes here. It's in the other one, I think. It's in the finance one. Hold on. We're organized. We're ready. It's a new year. You have to give us a break. I have it here. There's a several for the finance committee meeting. If I can get it, I'll be there in a second.
It's the fastest I've ever seen anybody scroll.
This is a lot of documents on this thing. How many are in here?
There's 86 pages.
There are 86 pages. I'm getting to the front.
John.
I
4.
don't know how to do that. I'll be there in a second.
Give your finger a workout.
We have a report for station identification. Okay, here we go. We have 17001 tax increment financing presentation, 17002 amend parking facility agreement with Medina County for discussion, 17003 payment over $3,000 to Delta Airport Consultants, 17004 budget amendments, 17005 establish a new fund number 152, 17006 establish a new fund 151, 17007 increase expenditure for North Gateway Tire for the police, 17008 expenditure of $15,000 for First Mason Properties grant reimbursement, 17009 increase expenditure for H2 wine merchants, 17010 expenditure over 15,000 to Fredericksburg Builders for the parks, 17011 approve Fair Road replat, and 17012 authorize the Ohio EPA grant application. Reports of municipal officers. Mayor Hanwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. On December 31st in the evening, we had the first night Medina. It went very well. It was very cold outside, but the inside venues were very well attended. We had roughly 200 people that arrived and stayed for the bee climb to the top of the old Common Pleas Courthouse at midnight. I think the event was a tribute to Barbara Smith, who planned and organized the event for over a year before she was suddenly killed in a car crash just weeks before the event. And special thanks to our finance director, Keith Durham, and Pam Wagner, co-Noon Kiwanis members, who took over the planning and coordination and organization of the event and made for a successful event. And there were many positive comments, both at the event and on Facebook regarding same. On Sunday, January 15th at 4 p.m., there will be a community celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the Medina United Methodist Church, which is 4747 Foot Road. This event is planned by the Medina Ministerial Association with music, and the featured speaker this year will be Pastor Arthur A. Ruffin Sr., the pastor of Second Baptist Church here on Bronson Street in Medina. An offering will be taken to support an annual college scholarship to a local youth who displays Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision with their lives, and I'd encourage all to join me in attending. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Durham, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for doing the countdown for us for the bee launch that we had with First Night. Barbara Smith was president of the Kiwanis Club. She was president immediately after I was. and as the mayor mentioned, suddenly passed away in a car accident. So our club just wanted to pick up the ball and try and carry it across the goal line for the first night event. We thought it went pretty well for our first year, and all the issues we had with that. I'd like to thank the mayor again for their doing the countdown for us and being there for us, and the Parks Department and Police Department and other departments that helped us. Police helped block off the streets. Parks got us the power. Everybody else that helped. So thank you. As far as the city business today, we are already working. I have a number of items on the agenda. We have 2 new funds. We have some appropriation adjustments. When we get to those, I will explain to the people at home why we need appropriation adjustments already when we're only about a week into the year. And we're already working on our budgets for 2018 and 2018 to 22 5-year plan. We're going to have a meeting to discuss that. One of the things to discuss with that is that the city issued a significant amount of debt in 2001 and 2002 for both the rec center and the water line project. And those debt issues, for the most part, will pay off in 2021 and 2022. So as we look out 5 years in our financial planning process, we're getting to where that payoff is within the horizon of our plan.
Thank you, Mr. Huber, City Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Lieutenant Brooke Beckler, Police Department.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Mrs. Marshall, Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Mendel, Planning and Community Development Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Chief Painter, Fire Chief.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have one item for the residents. Over the holiday break, we were inundated with questions about ice safety this year. I'm not sure what the draw is, but we had people calling about ice fishing on Lake Medina or taking their kids out on the ponds and the developments. And I just want to stress that none of this ice, because of what temperature fluctuations had, is safe to be on. We're going to have another warm up. I'm sure it's going to freeze up again before, but it's just not strong ice this year, and I would not recommend anyone be on any of the ponds or waterways in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Wright, Recreation Center Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a quick update from the rec. Our basketball league practices started tonight. All spectators and players will enter through the D6 back doors and park in the lots D, E, and F. This D6 door for the practice nights on Monday through Friday will not open until 5:15. The field house will be closed Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sundays just 2 courts from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the games. We would like to thank everyone for their patience and understanding during this extremely busy time for the rec. And finally, the next Rec Advisory Committee meeting is Thursday, January 19th at 7:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Worley, Parks and Recreation Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Last council meeting, we mentioned that the Forestry Department issued a permit for tree pruning along distribution circuits throughout town. The Asplin Tree Expert Service has begun, so the trucks are out there performing work. Additionally, the Forestry Department is in the process of issuing a second permit for First Energy Transmission Service, which is separate from distribution, and there'll be additional streets impacted. They will begin door hanger notification next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gladish, Building Official.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Patton, City Engineer.
Thank you. Wanted to update our ODOT's progress on the US 42 North Court Street corridor improvements. Installation of the city water main is essentially complete along Court Street. Work's going to continue in the next several weeks to tie in all the side streets. Some of this work will be done at night, but others at certain locations will require temporary closures of some of those side streets. We will notify all ahead of that schedule. Also wanted to let folks know that our Board of Control did award a contract for a Wadsworth Road water line. That project's expected to start within the next 2 weeks and take approximately a month to complete. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bercoli, Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. Real brief, just want to announce that the LEAF program is officially over. We pulled the plug on the LEAF hotline, so I chatted with the mayor. We had ended the LEAF program a little early when winter set in, but because, as promised, the weather permitted us to get back out, there were significant piles that we were able to pick up, and we literally ran through December 30th. So appreciate the patience and the understanding of the folks, and again, we were fighting with Mother Nature, so thank you.
Thank you. Confirmation of President of Council appointment. We have the Community Investment Corporation, Jim Shields as treasurer for a term expiring 12/31/18.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Confirmation of council appointment. We have the Archive Commission. We have Shannon Conley Kurzian, term expiring 12/31/18.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Notices, communications, and petitions. There are none. Unfinished business. There's none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during the portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there is a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the front right microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council at this time? Nobody? Okay. Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. We have our first ordinance, Ordinance 117, an ordinance amending Section 50908B of the codified ordinances of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to curfew.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mr. Huber.
This ordinance pertains to our curfew requirements. We looked at, well, for some time we've had a curfew ordinance in place that prohibits any minor 18 years of age or younger from being in a public place after 11 o'clock. And there is no exception to the original ordinance. The inflexibility of the ordinance came into question in part as a result of the first night gathering that was organized this year. There were any number of parents who wanted to bring their minor children with them to a public place. Of course, they'd be there after 11 o'clock, and our ordinance actually prohibited it with no clear exception. There are some exceptions to curfew ordinances in other municipalities that we looked at. We incorporated some of those exceptions into this ordinance that essentially allows for a minor to be in a public place after 11 o'clock if it's done so with the clear consent of a parent or guardian or person having legal custody. And that is, in fact, the modification of the ordinance that's now before the council.
Thank you. Any other further comments? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Ordinance 1-17 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 2-17, ordinance amending Section 3102E of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the salary schedule for part-time employees of the Medina Community Recreation Center affected by the Ohio minimum wage increase.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the ordinance and the emergency clause. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance adjusts the part-time pay rate schedule from the $8.10 an hour to the new rate of $8.15 an hour, affecting only the RC1 to RC8 categories. The emergency clause has been requested as this is a mandatory increase of all minimum wage employees for 2017. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment on the emergency clause or the ordinance? Clerk, please call the roll on the emergency clause.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 2-17 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 3-17, an ordinance authorizing the payment of $30,000 to Main Street Medina for the city's 2017 membership renewal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd respectfully request council to authorize the $30,000 to Main Street Medina. The city is the envy of not only the other cities in Medina County, but a lot of cities in the state of Ohio, in that our collaborative relationship with Main Street, the city's collaborative relationship with Main Street Medina, as well as the businesses' collaboration is something that makes our downtown as strong and as vibrant as it is, and in my mind, a key part to the 100% occupancy and waiting lists for businesses to get into the downtown that we're experiencing currently and have for the past few years. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Again, I'd like to echo the mayor's statements. I think ever since Main Street was enacted through ordinance and the collaborative efforts of not only the city and the businesses located downtown, it has been a great success. And as the report indicated, we generated a tremendous amount of economic development through the efforts of Matt and now Jeremy, the executive director of Main Street. And I think we appreciate it, and we hope we can have further success in the future. Clerk, any other comments? Clerk, please call the roll on the adoption of the ordinance.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 3-17 passes 7-0.
Resolution 4-17, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the statement of responsibility pertaining to the Granger Road Low Head Dam removal.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion on the resolutions. Mr. Patton.
Thank you. Earlier, council approved an agreement with ODOT to allow them to come in and remove the Granger Road Lowhead Dam that's located adjacent to the city's water treatment plant. After the fact, ODOT asked that we sign or accept this statement of responsibility. That's the reason it's before you. The one thing I wanted to point out, the city's owned this property and this dam for over 100 years. Any maintenance on the stream in that area has always been our responsibility. Nothing changes with this, and we don't anticipate any appreciable difference as a result of this project.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the resolution.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Resolution 4-17 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 5-17, ordinance of the Council of the City of Medina, Ohio, certifying that when a municipal obligation was incurred, sums were lawfully appropriated in the funds to satisfy the obligation, and sufficient sums currently exist to satisfy this obligation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it this time.
My second includes the emergency clause.
Discussion on the emergency clause and the ordinance. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. The emergency clause is because the work has already been done. The ordinance is to authorize payment to Delta Airport Consultants for work on the transient apron, and as mentioned, the appropriations are in place.
Thank you. Any further discussion or comment? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the emergency clause.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 5-17 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 6-17, ordinance establishing the Police Training Fund number 152.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're going to receive funds from the State Attorney General's office, and we need this fund to account for those.
Thank you. Any further comments? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Ordinance 6-17 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 7-17, an ordinance establishing the Federal Equitable Sharing Program Grant Fund number 151.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to account for funds received from the Federal Department of Justice. It's a federal grant fund.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Ordinance 7-17 passes 7-0.
And ordinance 8-17, an ordinance amending ordinance number 16716, passed December 12th, 2016, amendments to the 2017 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I mentioned earlier, I would explain this because people may wonder why we need to amend our budget when we're barely over a week into the year. The reason is these are things that can't really be anticipated when we're preparing the budget. The first one is the police training, which we discussed the fund earlier. It's a grant that we're going to receive. We didn't know about the grant, so it wasn't in the budget. The second one is a pass-through for bicentennial hat sales. Again, we have to appropriate that as the money comes in because we don't know how much will come in. And the final one is a pass-through of an insurance settlement. So,
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll on adoption of the ordinance.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Hilberg.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Ordinance 8-17 passes 7-0.
Council comments. Well, we're just removing, there's one other resolution that we haven't approved, and we're just removing it from the agenda, which is Resolution 917.
Do we need a motion to remove it?
I don't think we do. We haven't passed it out of finance, so it's not even here.
Okay.
Council comments? Anybody? Commissioner Lamb?
Some.
Okay.
My comment is simply this. I appreciate the support that we got last Thursday. We aired the premiere of the Remembering Medina Theater documentary that we made with Medina TV at Cool Beans last Thursday, and we had an overwhelming response. We had 65 people, which was, one more person than it would have been standing room only. I'm pretty sure. It looked like one person could have tipped that, but we had a great response, and of course the money that we raised from the sale of the DVDs is going to go toward the restoration of the second floor of the engine house. And I'm happy to also say that we have sold out of the DVDs as of right now, and we'll have more soon, and they'll be available again at Cool Beans within a few days for people that still want to pick one up. And lastly, I will add this. We had such a good response to the premiere last Thursday that we have scheduled an encore showing of the program at Cool Beans on February 2nd, which is a Thursday, at 7 o'clock. And the tickets will be available Wednesday morning, starting Wednesday morning at Cool Beans Coffee. So thanks to all the people that showed up at the last one. Thanks to everybody who helped us put it together. And I hope that if you didn't see it, you'll want to come and see it again on a big screen at Cool Beans on February 2nd.
Thank you. Any other council comments?
Mr. President?
Mr. Rose.
I'd like to thank everybody who worked so hard to put together the first night. It was an enjoyable evening. Lots of things to do for old people like me and young kids like Bill. But it was well put together, and it was an enjoyable evening, and I recommend that it continues, and we'll work together to make it a little more enticing next year. At least get some word out so more people are aware. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned.
You going to give me a ride home?
Sure, Bill. Get on my back.